The pain had long since become an abstract thing, distant, almost meaningless. Sergeant Darius Voss had endured agony beyond comprehension. His body stretched to its limits, his nerves burned raw by the relentless cruelty of the Zelkar Dominion. Yet, as he dangled in the cold embrace of metal restraints, his gaze remained locked onto the looming figures of his tormentors, defiant even as his body betrayed him. The alien chamber stank of antiseptic fluids and scorched flesh. Dim blue lights pulsed along the walls, casting eerie reflections off the jagged instruments that lined the room. The air was damp, thick with the scent of recycled breath, sterile yet suffocating. Beyond the reinforced doors, the distant hum of the Empire's war machine rumbled, a leviathan of conquest orbiting a dying world below. Overseer Jervax watched from the observation deck, his angular exoskeleton gleaming under the sterile light. His 4 black eyes studied Darius with detached curiosity. Humans are remarkably stubborn creatures, he mused, his voice an unsettling blend of synthetic reverberation and biological resonance. But your resilience has limits, just like all the others. Darius spat blood, a dark crimson stain blooming across the pristine floor. That why you're talking instead of doing? His voice was hoarse, cracked, but the venom remained. Jervax chittered in amusement, signaling to the 2 smaller Zelkar technicians flanking him. They moved with clinical efficiency, adjusting the restraints that pinned Darius to the upright slab of cold steel. One of them, a gangly creature with insectoid appendages, inserted a gleaming device into the human's temple, and a searing bolt of electricity arced through his skull. His vision burst into white-hot oblivion, nerves screaming in protest. He clenched his jaw to stifle the inevitable scream, but the pain carved through him like a surgeon's blade. Jervax leaned forward, voice dripping with mock sympathy. "Do you know why you are here, Sergeant?" Darius exhaled shakily, his heartbeat hammering in his ears. "Because I put a bullet through your commander's skull from 2 miles away," he rasped. "And you didn't see it coming." The overseer's mandibles clicked in irritation. A single sniper should not be a threat to the might of the Dominion. And yet, your kind continues to defy reason. He gestured to a floating console, where holographic projections flickered, images of resistance cells, human guerrilla fighters striking from the ruins of fallen colonies. Your species lacks the technology, the numbers, even the genetic superiority to stand against us. Yet you persist. A nuisance. An infestation. He stepped closer, his translucent mandibles twitching. "We're going to learn why." Darius forced a grin, teeth stained red. "Guess you'll have to try harder." Jervax sighed, as if disappointed. "You misunderstand. Human. We have already won. Your body is failing. Your vitals are degrading. You will tell us what we need to know, one way or another." Darius knew he was right. His muscles trembled from exhaustion, his mind slipping dangerously close to the abyss. He had lost count of how long they had been at this. Days. Weeks. It didn't matter. He wouldn't break. He couldn't. But his body had other plans. A wave of dizziness crashed over him, and the world tilted. The restraints bit into his wrists, his breaths growing ragged. He blinked sluggishly, his vision darkening at the edges. The flickering holograms, the glint of the overseer's carapace, they blurred into a twisted smear of color and shadow. A sudden beeping sound cut through the sterile quiet. One of the Zelkar technicians hissed in alarm. "His neural activity is destabilizing." Jervax frowned, tilting his head. "Increase the stimulation." The technician hesitated. "Overseer, if we push further, the human will." "Do it." The machine hummed, and another arc of pain lanced through Darius' skull. He convulsed violently against the restraints, teeth grinding together. His heartbeat hammered erratically, a wild, stuttering rhythm against his ribs. Something inside him, deep, primal, began to unravel. Then, abruptly, the pain stopped. Silence. Darius sagged in his restraints, his body eerily still. The machines beeped in confusion, screens flashing red warnings. Gervax's mandibles flared. Report. The technician rechecked the readings, limbs trembling. Overseer. His heart rate has ceased. Gervax's four eyes narrowed. He stepped forward, studying the human's slackened form. The once defiant soldier now hung motionless, head slumped forward, breathless. The soft, rhythmic beep of the monitors had been replaced by a flat, unbroken tone. Darius Voss was dead. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, Gervax straightened, exhaling through his spiracles. Dispose of the corpse. The experiment has concluded. The restraints disengaged with a sharp hiss, and Darius' lifeless body crumpled onto the cold floor. The technicians hesitated only briefly before hauling him onto a hovering gurney, his limbs heavy, unresponsive. With mechanical efficiency, they wheeled him out of the chamber, through the dimly lit corridors of the Imperial battleship. As the door sealed behind them, Gervax turned back to the console, already dismissing the matter. The data had been gathered. The human was nothing more than another failed experiment. He would have no reason to think otherwise. The morgue was a quiet, sterile place, hidden in the lower decks of the battleship. Rows of containment pods lined the walls, each housing a discarded failure, a collection of lifeless remnants from the Empire's relentless pursuit of dominance. The technicians worked without fanfare, depositing Darius' body into an open unit. A hiss of cold air greeted him as his form was sealed inside, the pod's interface blinking to life, beginning the process of organic decomposition. Then, the lights flickered. A subtle tremor ran through the room, a static charge crackling in the air. The overhead fluorescents dimmed, pulsing erratically. A low, almost imperceptible hum resonated through the chamber, an unnatural vibration that made the technicians pause. Inside the pod, beneath the layer of icy condensation forming over his skin, Darius Voss opened his eyes. The morgue remained silent. The technicians turned just in time to see the containment pod's biometric scanner flash green. And then, impossibly, the dead man sat up. The taller of the two Zelkar recoiled, mandibles clicking in disbelief. That's not possible. Darius exhaled sharply, the breath rattling through his lungs like an old machine restarting. His limbs felt alien, his nerves crackling with unfamiliar energy. He should be dead. He had felt himself die. But now, his fingers curled into a fist. He was back. The smaller technician scrambled for an alarm panel, but Darius moved before instinct could warn him otherwise. In one fluid motion, he grabbed the alien's elongated skull and twisted. A sickening crack. The body hit the floor. The taller Zelkar staggered back, wide-eyed, reaching for a weapon. But before it could react, Darius was already moving. His hand shot out, gripping the technician's throat with unnatural force. The alien struggled, mandibles flaring in panic, its exoskeleton cracking under the pressure. Darius pulled it closer, his voice low, almost thoughtful. "You killed me," he said. Didn't stick. With a brutal twist, he ended the struggle. The room fell silent again, save for the soft hum of the ship's distant engines. Darius stood amidst the bodies, breathing heavily, his heartbeat impossibly steady. He had no idea how he had come back, but he was going to find out, and then he was going to make them pay. Darius moved like a phantom through the dimly lit corridors of the Imperial battleship, his breath steady, his mind focused. The sensation of movement, of existence, felt foreign, wrong. He had been dead. He had felt the life drain from his body, the cold embrace of oblivion closing in. And yet, here he was, walking, breathing alive. No, not just alive. Stronger. His muscles no longer ached from the tortures he had endured. The wounds that had once littered his body, deep lacerations and cauterized burns, were gone. Even his mind, once a frayed, exhausted mess, felt sharp, honed like a blade drawn fresh from the forge. He didn't understand how or why, but he knew one thing for certain. He had unfinished business. A klaxon blared through the ship, the sound sharp and grating against the steel walls. The bodies of the two Zelkar technicians lay cooling on the morgue floor behind him, their elongated limbs splayed unnaturally. One of them had managed to press the emergency alarm before Darius had snapped its throat. That meant he had minutes, maybe less, before the ship's security came hunting. Darius crouched behind a bulkhead as the rhythmic thud of armored boots echoed down the hall. A squad of Dominion soldiers swept forward with practiced precision, their elongated rifles humming with deadly energy. Their reflective carapace armor gleamed under the sterile lighting, a stark contrast to the matte black of their weapons. They moved in a tight formation, eyes scanning every shadow, mandibles clicking in a silent, efficient pattern. A lesser soldier might have frozen, overwhelmed by the odds. Darius, however, was a sniper first, a hunter always. He gauged the angles, the spacing of their movement. 6 hostiles, rifles at the ready. Their armor had gaps at the joints, thin, vulnerable spots where chitin plating met the flexible undersuit. The weak points were subtle but exploitable. Darius waited, heart steady. The first soldier passed his position. He struck. Exploding from the shadows, Darius moved with impossible speed. His hand shot forward, seizing the alien's head in an iron grip, twisting hard enough to snap vertebrae. The Zelkar collapsed before it could cry out. The squad reacted instantly, spinning toward the disturbance, too late. Darius ripped the fallen soldier's weapon from its grasp and fired. The energy rifle kicked against his shoulder as a plasma bolt punched through the nearest alien's exposed throat. The Zelkar gurgled, collapsing into its own ichor. The remaining 4 opened fire. Darius moved. He dove, rolling under the incoming bolts as streaks of blue plasma seared past him. He felt everything. The heat on his skin, the displacement of air, the exact trajectory of each shot. His senses were operating at an inhuman level, calculating every variable with pinpoint accuracy. He landed in a crouch and fired twice more. 2 precise shots. 2 more bodies dropped. The last pair attempted to retreat, mandibles clicking in what might have been fear. Darius didn't let them. He surged forward, closing the distance before they could regroup. A sharp elbow shattered one soldier's carapace, sending it reeling. He twisted the rifle in his grip, turning it into a club, driving the butt of the weapon into the alien's skull with bone-crunching force. The last soldier panicked, dropping its weapon in an attempt to flee. Darius caught it by the throat and lifted it off the ground. "Where is Jervax?" His voice was calm, controlled. The alien writhed, clawed hands grasping at his grip, its 4 black eyes wide with something Darius had never seen in them before. "Terror. We don't know," it choked out. He left the command deck. Darius narrowed his eyes. Lies. But he had no time for games. He squeezed. The body went limp. Dropping the corpse, Darius exhaled slowly. The fight had lasted seconds, yet he felt untouched, invincible. He should have been exhausted, running on fumes after days, weeks of torture. Instead, he felt stronger than ever, faster, sharper. Something had happened to him. He needed answers, and he knew exactly where to get them. The command deck. Darius looted the soldier's gear, strapping a combat knife to his thigh and slinging a spare rifle across his back. He moved with purpose, navigating the corridors with practiced efficiency. The ship was changing. Red emergency lights flashed along the walls, casting long shadows that danced and writhed. The air felt charged, almost electric. Something deep within the vessel groaned, like metal under strain. Darius felt a strange sensation prickling along his skin, a static hum just beneath the surface. Something was wrong. A doorway ahead hissed open, and Darius barely had time to react before a Zelkar officer stepped through. Unlike the soldiers, this one was different. Taller, more refined, clad in a sleek obsidian uniform instead of heavy armor. A scientist, perhaps, one of the Empire's researchers. The alien froze at the sight of him. You. Darius was already moving. He closed the distance in an instant, slamming the scientist against the wall with brutal force. A data slate clattered to the floor. You're going to tell me what's happening to me, Darius said, pressing the barrel of his stolen rifle against the alien's temple. The scientist trembled, mandibles clicking rapidly. Why you? Shouldn't be alive, it whispered. The neural degradation. We push your nervous system past the threshold. Darius leaned in. Try again. What did you do to me? The scientist swallowed hard, its black eyes darting toward the data slate. The experiments. The neural stimulus. It reactivated dormant pathways in your brain. Unlocked something we didn't understand. Darius frowned. Unlocked what? The scientist's breathing hitched. Your body reset itself. Your nervous system adapted, rewired. The process, it shuddered, was never meant to revive you. It was meant to break you. Darius processed this. He had been tortured, his body pushed past its limits, and instead of failing, it had evolved. He should have been dead. Instead, he was something else. The static hum under his skin, the impossible speed, the heightened perception. This was no accident. The Empire had tried to break him, but they had made him stronger. Darius stared into the alien's eyes. Where's Jervax? The scientist hesitated. Darius pressed the rifle harder. You have one chance. Security vault. He fled there when the alarms went off. He's waiting for extraction. Darius nodded, then pulled the trigger. The alien's body slumped. He stepped over the corpse and grabbed the data slate. Scanning through the files, he caught glimpses of his own name. Experiment logs, neurological reports, charts tracking his progress. They had been studying him, testing him, pushing him beyond human limits. They had no idea what they had created. Darius tightened his grip around the slate. Jervax thought he had won. He thought Darius had died. He was about to find out how wrong he was. The security vault was deep within the heart of the battleship, past layers of reinforced corridors and biometric locks designed to withstand direct assault. It was where high-ranking officers retreated in times of crisis, a last bastion before they could escape or rally their forces. For Jervax, it was a prison of his own making. Darius moved through the corridors like a specter, his stolen rifle a familiar weight in his hands. Every step felt unervingly effortless, as if his body anticipated each movement before he made it. The static hum beneath his skin had intensified, a thrumming energy that coiled like a predator in wait. A platoon of Zelkar soldiers blocked his path, positioned in a defensive perimeter near the vault entrance. Their formation was textbook, interlocking fields of fire, overlapping vision cones, and automated sentry drones hovering like silent executioners. To any other human, breaching this line would have been a death sentence. Darius smiled. The lights flickered. The hum in his skin surged, and he moved. He exploded forward, closing the distance before the soldiers could react. The first sentry drone spun toward him, but Darius was already beneath it, his stolen knife slicing through its optic core. Sparks showered the corridor as the machine collapsed, its targeting array severed. The nearest soldier raised its rifle. Darius was faster. He twisted to the side, avoiding the plasma bolt by millimeters. His free hand lashed out, fingers finding the soft gap beneath the alien's mandibles. A sharp, sudden twist snapped vertebrae, and the Zelkar crumpled. Chaos erupted. The remaining soldiers fired wildly, but Darius was already among them, weaving through the storm of plasma like a wraith. He felt everything: the heat of the bolts, the kinetic shift in the air, the subtle tremor in the deck plating his footsteps scrambled for cover. His mind processed it all with perfect clarity, a battlefield equation unfolding in real time. He dropped low, sweeping a soldier's legs out from under it, then drove his knife into the exposed throat. Another Zelkar turned its rifle on him, but he caught its barrel and twisted, redirecting the shot into an ally's chest. The scent of scorched chitin filled the air. A drone fired from behind. Darius pivoted, caught the bolt in midair. For a fraction of a second, time seemed to slow. The plasma burned against his palm, but the pain was distant, irrelevant. He understood the energy, the raw force behind it. And then, he redirected it. The bolt flared outward, arcing like a living thing, striking two Zelkar square in their torsos. They collapsed, smoking, their eyes wide in uncomprehending horror. The last soldier turned to flee. Darius shot it in the back. The silence that followed was deafening. He stood amidst the carnage, the bodies of the fallen strewn around him. He should have been breathing hard, his limbs trembling from exertion. Instead, he felt calm. The static hum beneath his skin had settled into something controlled, a force he could shape at will. He wasn't just alive. He was more. The vault doors loomed ahead, thick enough to withstand a direct ship-to-ship bombardment. But Darius had no intention of knocking. He stepped forward, placing his hand against the reinforced surface. The hum in his body pulsed. Metal groaned. The ship reacted to him. The vault doors buckled inward, the reinforced plating crumpling like paper beneath an unseen force. Alarms screamed as locks disengaged, hydraulic pistons failing catastrophically. Then silence. The doors collapsed. Inside, Jervax stood frozen, his four black eyes wide with disbelief. The alien was regal in his bearing, taller than most of his kind, his deep blue exoskeleton adorned with the intricate golden sigils of the Dominion High Command. The control panels behind him flickered with desperate escape protocols, but no ship would arrive in time. Not before Darius finished what had been started. Jervax breathed. Impossible. Darius stepped forward, slow, deliberate. You killed me. Jervax swallowed, mandibles twitching. No, we transcended you. Darius moved faster than thought. One moment, he was standing across the room. The next, his fist was buried in Jervax's gut, lifting the alien off the ground. The commander choked, his hand scrambling at Darius's arm, but the human didn't budge. You turned me into this, Darius said, his voice eerily calm. Now you get to see what you've made. Jervax coughed, ichor dribbling from his mouth. You don't understand. If we could control it. Darius tightened his grip. That's your mistake. You think control is power. His eyes glowed faintly, a reflection of the pulsing energy within him. But power isn't about control. He hurled Jervax across the vault. The alien slammed into the far wall, crumpling in a heap. Power, Darius continued, stepping closer, is what happens when you let go. Jervax coughed, struggling to rise. This is bigger than you, human. The Dominion is about to learn why you never break a sniper. Darius raised his hand, and the entire vault shook. The lights overhead flickered wildly, shadows dancing across the walls. The ship itself seemed to breathe, reacting to him, the energy he radiated distorting reality. Jervax's eyes widened in sudden, pure terror. You're not human anymore. Darius smiled. Then I guess you really did kill me. Jervax scrambled backward, his four eyes darting to the wreckage of the command console, searching for something, anything, to save himself. Darius took another step forward, his presence distorting the air like a heat mirage. The ship groaned around him, its systems faltering, responding not to command inputs, but to something deeper, something unseen. You think this changes anything? Gervax rasped, ichor dripping from his cracked mandibles. You think this makes you a god? Darius tilted his head, considering the words. A god? No. He was something else. Something the Dominion had tried to create and failed to contain. You torture me for days, he said. His voice was eerily level, devoid of rage or malice. I remember the pain, the screams, the way you watched as I died. His fingers curled into a fist, and the lights overhead pulsed in sync with his heartbeat. But you didn't kill me. You set me free. Gervax lunged for a fallen rifle. Darius didn't stop him. Let the alien try. The commander wrenched the weapon up, his claws shaking, and fired. A plasma bolt seared through the air, aimed directly at Darius's chest. Darius raised his hand. The bolt froze mid-flight. It crackled, suspended in the air, vibrating with raw, caged energy. Then, slowly, it reversed course, drifting back toward its origin. Gervax gasped, his mandibles clicking in disbelief. No, he whispered. Darius flicked his fingers, and the plasma bolt surged forward, slamming into the commander's chest. The impact sent Gervax sprawling, smoke rising from the scorched chitin of his torso. He convulsed, coughing up thick, dark fluid. I could kill you right now, Darius mused, stepping over the wreckage. Snap your neck, crush your skull, tear you apart like you did to me. He knelt beside the broken commander, watching as Gervax struggled to breathe. But I want you to understand something first. Gervax's gaze flickered, his body trembling. The Dominion thinks humans are weak, soft, inferior. Darius's voice dropped to a whisper. But we survive. You put us through hell, and we adapt. You kill us, and we come back. He leaned in close, his eyes glowing faintly. You want a weapon? You got one. Gervax tried to speak, but his voice was failing. His claws scrabbled against the floor, weak and desperate. Darius stood. Now you get to be the messenger. He turned away, the ship responding to his will. The walls trembled as conduits overloaded, energy surging uncontrolled through the Dominion flagship. He could feel its pulse, its structure, the way it all connected. He was part of it now, woven into its very fabric. He reached out. The ship screamed. A cascade of explosions tore through the corridors, emergency sirens wailing in protest. The vessel lurched violently, hull integrity failing in multiple sections. Across the Dominion fleet, officers watched in horror as their flagship, the indomitable pride of their empire, began to break apart. Darius walked through the chaos, untouched by the destruction. Soldiers fled in panic, no longer seeing a man, but something beyond comprehension. They didn't fire at him. They didn't dare. By the time he reached the hangar, the blast doors were already failing, the vacuum of space tearing at the ship's failing structure. Darius stepped into the docking bay, his stolen shuttle waiting where he had left it. The guards who had once manned the area were gone, either dead or smart enough to run. He took one last look at the carnage behind him. Gervax, broken and burned, would live just long enough to report what had happened, to tell the Dominion that the human they had tortured and killed had come back, and had become something else. Darius boarded the shuttle and powered the engines. The Dominion fleet was already repositioning, scrambling to respond to the catastrophe unfolding in real time. It wouldn't matter. By the time they organized, he would be gone. The shuttle lifted off, slipping free of the flagship's gravitational hold. He angled it toward the black void, past the wreckage, past the battle that had already been lost. The man they had known as Sergeant Darius Kane had died in that torture chamber. What had returned in his place was something the Dominion would learn to fear.